The rain fell in thick, angry sheets against the steel of his motorcycle as he pulled into the abandoned gas station, the kind of place where even shadows seemed afraid to linger. Tyson Grim Malone, a towering Hell's Angel known for a glare that could freeze him in mid-sentence, killed the engine and listened to the storm crack across the sky. He was used to chaos, to noise, to the kind of trouble that crawled under a man's skin and stayed there. But he was not used to what happened next. Out of the darkness, from behind a rusted vending machine, stepped the smallest, shivering silhouette he had ever seen. A little girl, no older than 7, barefoot, soaked, and clutching a broken stuffed rabbit to her chest, stared at him with wide, frightened eyes, and whispered, barely loud enough to rise above the thunder, "Sir, can you help my mommy? If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of doing good even in unexpected places, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and spread stories that matter." For a moment, Grim thought she might be a hallucination, the result of too many sleepless nights and too many memories he never wanted. But her trembling lips and desperate eyes made something twist inside him, something he had long buried under leather, ink, and the roar of engines. He crouched slightly, trying to soften the edges of a life that rarely allowed softness. The girl stepped back but did not run. Instead, she pointed toward the dark field behind the station. Grim followed her gaze and saw nothing at first, just tall grass whipping in the wind. Then he noticed the faint glow of headlights half submerged at a crooked angle. The unmistakable shape of a crashed car. The storm raged harder as they moved toward it, the girl's tiny hand gripping the edge of his jacket, as if he were the only solid thing in a world that had given her nothing but fear. When they reached the car, Grim felt the air leave his chest. The driver, a young woman, barely conscious, was pinned against the steering wheel, blood streaking down her forehead, her breath shallow and strained. Grim had seen injuries like this before. Every instinct told him time was running out. The little girl pressed her face against her mother's shoulder through the shattered window and whispered something that broke him open from the inside. "Mommy, I found someone. He'll help." He promised. He hadn't promised. Not yet. But in that moment he felt the weight of a promise forming inside him, heavy and unstoppable. He tore at the jammed door with a force fueled by something he didn't fully understand. It groaned, resisted, then finally gave way. Grim worked quickly, carefully lifting the woman into his arms as she winced in pain, her voice barely above a breath. The girl stayed close, refusing to let go of her mother's hand. Soaked, shivering, but fiercely protective in a way that made Grim's throat tighten, she followed him back to the station where his bike stood waiting. There was no way all three could fit safely on the motorcycle. Grim knew he needed help, real help, but cell service was dead in the storm, and the nearest town was miles away. He scanned the area until he remembered the old ranger outpost just beyond the tree line, long abandoned but rumored to still have a working radio. Without hesitation, Grim lifted the mother again, motioned for the girl to climb onto his back, and began trudging through mud, rain, and darkness toward the shack that might save them. With every step, memories battered him, of his sister, who died when he was too young and too powerless to help her, of promises he failed to keep, of roads he took to outrun grief but never succeeded. The girl's small arms around his neck felt like a second chance he never knew he needed. By the time they reached the outpost, Grim's muscles screamed with exhaustion. Inside, the air smelled of mold and dust, but the radio, miraculously, crackled to life after a few stubborn taps. He sent a distress call, voice shaking in a way that had nothing to do with the cold. When rescue finally arrived, lights flashing, tires skidding in the mud, the paramedics rushed the mother onto a stretcher. Grim stood back, drenched and silent, unsure if he belonged in a moment so fragile and human. But then the little girl ran to him, her arms wrapping around his waist with a fierceness that stunned him. She looked up with eyes that glowed despite the rain. "Thank you," she whispered. "You saved my mommy." Something broke inside him, but not in a painful way, in the way a locked door breaks open to let light in. In the days that followed, Grim couldn't shake the memory of her voice or the weight of her trust. He visited the hospital, unsure if he'd be welcome, but the girl spotted him instantly, running toward him with the same unfiltered hope that had first pulled him out of the storm. The mother, pale but smiling, reached for his hand with gratitude that needed no words. Grim felt something shift, like a road he had been riding for years finally leading him somewhere worth stopping. He learned that they had been escaping a dangerous situation, trying to start over, seeking safety they had never known. And for reasons he couldn't explain, reasons that felt like fate touching his shoulder, he continued helping them. He brought groceries, fixed their car, found them a safer place to stay. Each act chipped away at the armor he had built around his heart. The club brothers teased him at first, calling him soft ride, but when they learned the story, even the toughest among them nodded with respect. Kindness, they knew, was not weakness. Sometimes it was the bravest thing a man could choose. Weeks later, when the girl handed him a picture she had drawn, of him standing tall beside her and her mother, all of them holding hands, he felt tears sting his eyes, hot and unexpected. She told him she didn't have a dad, but if she could choose one, she'd choose him. Grim couldn't speak. He only knelt down and hugged her, letting the tears fall freely for the first time in years. If this story has touched your heart, please like the video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the goodness in this world. Special request, comment below what part of this story moved you the most. In the end, Grim realized something the road had never taught him. Sometimes the people we save are the ones who save us right back. The little girl who approached a feared biker in the rain didn't just ask for help, she gave him a new purpose, a new path, and a reason to believe that even the roughest souls can become someone's hero when the moment calls for it.